There are wars Europe never talks about. Battles that never made the history books, yet they reshaped the continent forever. These are the hidden wars, fought in shadows, forgotten by time, but never truly lost. History as we know it is often a carefully curated narrative. It's a story told by the victors, focusing on grand battles, famous generals, and treaties signed in opulent halls. But what if I told you that beneath this polished surface lies another history? A darker, more clandestine story of wars, waged not on open fields, but in the hushed corridors of power, the back alleys of sprawling cities, and the desolate, mined frontiers of the continent. These weren't just minor skirmishes. They were conflicts that determined the fate of empires, redrew maps, and installed or dethroned dynasties, all while remaining deliberately absent from the official record. They were fought with daggers as much as swords, with poison as much as cannons, and with whispers as much as war cries. Imagine a Europe where the front lines weren't marked by trenches or fortress walls, but by invisible lines of influence, loyalty, and betrayal. In these hidden wars, the most valuable soldier wasn't the knight in shining armor, but the spy who could slip through a city's gates unnoticed. The most decisive weapon wasn't a catapult, but a secret letter, a forged document, or a rumor planted at just the right moment. Let's travel back to the 16th century, a time of immense religious and political turmoil. While the history books tell us about the Great Protestant Reformation and the wars between Catholic and Protestant states, they often gloss over the covert operations that truly fueled these conflicts. In the shadows of the Habsburg-Valois rivalry, a different kind of war was raging. This was the age of the spy master, where figures like Sir Francis Walsingham in England created intricate networks of agents across Europe. His spies were everywhere in the Spanish court, within the Vatican, and among French Catholic leagues. These agents weren't just gathering information, they were actively shaping events. They intercepted correspondence, like the letters that led to the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, effectively preventing a Catholic monarch from taking the English throne. They funded rebellions, spread disinformation to destabilize rival kingdoms, and orchestrated assassinations. The fall of a kingdom could, and often did, begin with a single whisper carried by one of these invisible agents. A hidden alliance, a carefully planned betrayal, these were the tools that decided the fate of nations. Long before any army marched, think about the sheer scale of it. Entire networks of couriers, cryptographers, and informants operated in plain sight, their true purpose known only to a select few. They were merchants, priests, artists, and aristocrats, using their positions to pass messages written in invisible ink or complex ciphers. The fate of the Spanish Armada, for instance, wasn't sealed just by English naval tactics and bad weather. It was heavily influenced by Walsingham's intelligence network, which provided crucial details about Spanish preparations, ship numbers, and supply lines, giving England a vital edge. This was a war fought with information, and the side with the better intelligence often won before the first shot was even fired. Then there were the alliances, not the grand public treaties celebrated with pomp and circumstance, but the secret pacts forged in candlelit backrooms. Beneath the chandeliers of royal courts, handshakes concealed daggers. Consider the Italian wars of the late 15th and early 16th centuries. On the surface, it was a struggle for control of Italy between France, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire. But beneath that, it was a chaotic free-for-all of shifting loyalties. City-states like Venice, Florence, and Milan would publicly align with one power while secretly negotiating with another. The infamous Borgia family, particularly Cesare Borgia, were masters of this game. Their power in central Italy was built on a foundation of secret deals, strategic marriages, and betrayals so audacious they became legendary. They would form an alliance one day only, to break it the next if a better opportunity arose. Their influence wasn't just maintained through their armies, but through a web of intrigue that kept their enemies divided and uncertain. These weren't wars fought only with swords and pikes. but with lies, strategy, and the raw exercise of hidden power. The maps of Italy were constantly being redrawn, not by major battles, but by these clandestine maneuvers. History is filled with battles that were never meant to be remembered. Entire armies clashed in remote valleys or dense forests, their sacrifices and struggles erased from the ledgers of time. Why? Sometimes it was because the conflict was too embarrassing for the losing side to acknowledge. Other times, the victor had a vested interest in pretending the battle never happened, allowing them to claim territory or power through what appeared to be peaceful, legitimate means. Take, for example, the shadowy conflicts along the eastern fringes of the Holy Roman Empire during the medieval period, while official histories focus on crusades and imperial politics. Countless undocumented wars were fought between local lords, Slavic tribes, and Teutonic knights over land and resources. These were brutal attritional conflicts fought far from the eyes of chroniclers. Entire villages were wiped out, dynasties ended, and ethnic landscapes were permanently altered. Yet because they took place in what were considered the uncivilized borderlands, they were rarely recorded. Generations later, no one would know that the peaceful fields and forests were once the sites of bloody battles that shaped the very borders of modern-day Germany, Poland, and the Czech Republic. These silent wars turned history on its head, but did so without a sound. And who were the protagonists in these silent dramas? In the shadows, spies and secret agents wrote the fate of nations. Their names are lost to us, but their impact is eternal. During the 30 Years' War, a conflict that devastated Central Europe, mercenary captains and spy masters held as much power as princes. Figures like Albrecht von Wallenstein commanded a private army and ran a personal intelligence service that was second to none. He knew the secrets of every court in Europe and used that knowledge to play factions against each other for his own gain. These networks were incredibly sophisticated. Messages were smuggled inside hollowed-out shoe heels sewn into the seams of clothing, or passed along by seemingly ordinary travelers. Codes became so complex that entire departments were created just to decipher them. The Black Chambers, as they were known in Vienna and Paris, were secret offices where postal mail was intercepted, opened, steamed, sealed again, and sent on its way, with copies of any interesting letters made for the state's spy masters. Europe's history was being rewritten daily by these unseen heroes and villains, their actions shaping a future they would never see. When the smoke finally cleared from these hidden wars, the world looked different. New powers had risen from the ashes, and old kingdoms had vanished without a trace. Yet no official record tells the full story. You can see the aftermath in the ruins of a castle abandoned for no documented reason, or in a border that zigzags unnaturally, the result of a secret treaty rather than an open war. The continent we know today, with its current nations and alliances, was forged in battles history tried to erase. The modern map of Europe is, in many ways, a scar tissue of these forgotten conflicts. The legacy of these hidden wars endures, the political tensions, the ancient rivalries. And the deep-rooted cultural identities across Europe often have their origins not in the famous wars we all learn about, but in these secret struggles for power. The hidden wars may be lost to time, but their echoes still shape Europe's destiny, influencing politics and society in ways we are only just beginning to understand. History remembers the victors, and it records the wars they want us to see. But the shadows remember everything. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the hidden side of history fascinating, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the past.